Welcome back to the Raptors Wrap-Up podcast. I am your host, Adam Lingam, and let's get the show on the road. What a game, what a game, what a game. Raptors win Game 2 and go up 2-0 on the Washington Wizards. Franchise record, the Raptors have never gone up 2-0 in a playoff series, and this team is making historic achievements day by day at this point. And in today's podcast, we're going to talk about the Raptors All-Stars against the Washington All-Stars, the Raptors' overall performance, the Wizards' overall performance, the coaching decisions down the stretch and throughout the game, and what to expect next in Game 3. First, let's dive into the matchup between the two All-Stars, Bradley Beal and John Wall versus DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. Let me just tell you right now, one of these All-Stars completely didn't show up, and that was on the Washington side. Bradley Beal struggled all game long, played only 25 minutes in this game, got into foul trouble, committed some bad fouls on jump shots on Lowry and DeRozan. DeRozan ended up getting the 4-point play, and Kyle Lowry ended up getting 3 free throws. And Beal was out early in the first quarter, then picked up a silly one near the end of the second quarter. Third quarter, he picked up one early again, and he was just out of it. I think Scott Brooks just had enough with his carelessness and clumsiness and benched him in that fourth quarter for a key part of that game. He relied on his bench in that part. But John Wall was amazing in this game. 14 points in that third quarter. Really turned it up in that second half. And, man, he was unstoppable. He was going downhill on the pick and roll. Jakob Poeltl, Serge Ibaka, any of the bigs had trouble guarding him, let alone the guards. CJ Miles ISO'd on him, could not stop him. Delon Wright was struggling with him. Lowry was struggling with him. It was a tough matchup. And he got whatever he wanted. He got mid-range jumpers. He got to the rim. He was unstoppable. And then we got the two Toronto Raptors. DeMar DeRozan, 37-point night. Kyle Lowry, double-double. Almost triple-double in this one. 3 rebounds shy of a triple-double. But man, excellent floor game. The all-star backcourt for the Toronto Raptors showed up and showed out. DeMar DeRozan's 37 points. The Raptors needed every single basket down the stretch. And his 13 points in the first quarter set the tempo and built the lead. And Kyle Lowry's pushing at the pace and creating for his teammates, especially JV in that first half, just really helped out the team. He made easy shots, easy opportunities for everyone. Just an excellent game by the floor general. Just looking at the numbers, the two Washington Wizards players combined for 38 points, but the Raptors backcourt combined for 50 points. You're not going to beat that. Your backcourt needs to show up. Bradley Beal only ended at 9 points in this game. Really slacked and didn't support John Wall. And John Wall was pretty much the full-time ball handler the entire game because no one else was getting it going. John Wall pretty much had the ball in his hands the entire game, just dominated the ball. And the ball movement suffered, but he was getting results. But it doesn't always translate into other players playing well, especially Bradley Beal, who could have got a few more touches. Only 11 shots in this game. He himself got himself into foul trouble. Really took his rhythm out of the game. So it was going to be a struggle either way. Now we're moving on to the Raptors' overall performance. Amazing performance from key members of the Raptors team, especially JV, Serge Ibaka, OG, Delon Wright, and CJ Miles. All of them played well, especially JV. JV had a monster first half, double-double in the first half, was killing Gortat in the paint, was blocking shots from Morris. The interior defense from Serge Ibaka and Jonas Valanciunas was fantastic. Sergio blocked the Otto Porter 3 at a point, just running out. They were active, and JV scored 19 points and grabbed 14 boards in the game, but was benched for most of the fourth quarter when Scotty Brooks switched up his lineup to go small. But Serge Ibaka was huge in those lineups since he was the agile big that can provide offense as well. As Siakam and Poeltl struggled once again, could not get anything going, and Siakam had a tough time guarding Mike Scott, who completely owned him in that matchup. Jakob Poeltl was getting boxed out and could not finish any shots at the rim. He was turning the ball over and just didn't look right. Then we had VanVleet return. Mr. Bet on Yourself Wichita product came out, played only 3 minutes, but he did not look good to the Raptors. Unfortunately for the Raptors, he did not look good. He played only 3 minutes, and Casey yanked him because he did not look 100% healthy. Everybody else played okay. CJ Miles dropped in 4 threes, huge in this game. Delon Wright played great defense in that fourth quarter. Finished the game off with the Raptor starters. And Bebe did not play well. Was one of the worst players on the floor, even though he only played 5 minutes. The bench itself was all negative, except for Delon Wright, who finished with a net 0 rating. So the bench was completely outplayed in this game. The Raptors bench did not bring its aggressiveness, did not create enough good shots, and could not defend, to be honest. The Raptor lead that the Raptors went up 44-27 in the first quarter, yet the Raptors lead got cut down to 10 heading into the fourth. The bench could not hold the lead at all and maintain it. Lorenzo Brown came in and dropped one good dime off to Siakam for the dunk for the and one finish. Other than that, the bench did not provide much offense when they were all on the floor together. So Casey decided to just mix and match and throw in a bunch of starters. And it got the job done at the end of the day. And that's all it takes. Then we got the Wizards overall. Now looking into the Wizards' overall performance. The Wizards, you got to give it to Ty Lawson, Mike Scott, Kelly Oubre Jr., John Wall. All came out and all played well. Especially Ty Lawson, who was making his playoff debut for the Washington Wizards. Came in and was knocking threes left, right, and center. Then you had Kelly Oubre Jr., who was active on the offensive end and the defensive end. And John Wall, you know the story. He was killing it. And Mike Scott, man, Mike Scott is the Raptor killer. You can label him. You can put him down as a Raptor killer. He always plays well against the Toronto Raptors. And tonight, he was drilling shots left, right, and center. He had his mid-range going. He had his three-point shot going. There was nothing that he could not do. And the Raptors have to keep him off the three-point line, he is a killer. And they came close. The Washington Wizards cut the lead down to 5 in the fourth quarter before CJ Miles hit a huge 3 at the end of the shot clock to give the Raptors an 8-point lead before DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry sealed the game off. But the Wizards were right in this game with about 6 minutes left in the game in the fourth quarter. The Wizards are 2 possessions away from tying the game or taking the lead. So they were right in it. They caught up. They kept chipping at the lead, and they were resilient. But it was too big of a hole for them to catch up, and the Raptors sealed it away in the fourth. We already talked about Beal's problems on the court today, but Marcin Gortat, man, 12 minutes, 0 points. People on the Washington board are calling him the worst starter on any playoff team, let alone the NBA. And he looked like he was just off, missing bunnies, missing layups. Just wasn't getting anything going. Maybe a rough game for him after a strong game 1 for him, but he couldn't get anything going. And it wasn't that John Wall wasn't finding him. John Wall was feeding him great dimes. John Wall should have had at least 15 assists in this game, but guys were not knocking down shots, and they were just missing easy shots at the rim. And Marcin Gortat, Markieff Morris, both guys on the starting lineup suffered and did not play well, as the Raptors big men pretty much dominated these guys. And it was good because Raptors crashed the glass and won the rebounding margin 49-34, which was huge. Now moving on to coaching. The Raptors' Dwane Casey played an expert game. He orchestrated a fantastic game. Great substitutions, knew when to yank guys, especially playing VanVleet, trying to see what he was going to bring. He looked tentative out there, he said in the post game, and he pulled him out instantly. I like that decision. It was quick, straight to the chase. Did not want to mess around in a playoff game. Did not want to give up free minutes and get exposed on the other end. So he took out VanVleet, threw in Norman Powell early. Told VanVleet, rest up for the next game. We'll give it another try on Friday, hopefully. We'll see how it goes. But great decision there. The Raptors, he went with Bebe because Bebe did play well in Game 1, but in Game 2, he did not play well. And Casey knew that his bench wasn't giving him enough, so he yanked those guys out early and relied more on his starters, and they produced. The starters came out and they produced well and closed this game out. The starters have played well the past 2 games, but the bench has yet to put their mark on any of these games so far. CJ Miles and DeLon Wright have been consistent, have provided good offense and defense for both games, but the rest of the bench have been a no-show. And the Raptors definitely need this bench to show up, because if DeMar or Lowry have a bad game, it could be a loss in a heartbeat. And Scott Brooks, he tried anything and everything. Bradley Beal was having a terrible game. He yanked out Marcin Gortat quick, only 12 minutes, because he knew he wasn't giving him anything. He elected to go with Kelly Oubre Jr., John Wall, Mike Scott, and Ty Lawson, and they played fantastic for him down the stretch. I had to give it to Scott Brooks. He brought out Ty Lawson, the first guy off the bench, over Thomas Satoransky, who usually is the backup point guard when John Wall sits down. But Ty Lawson was aggressive, hitting his shots, and he just looked like a young Denver Ty Lawson. He was quick. His first step was like lightning, and he just got to the rack, found guys. He was creating for all his guys. He had 8 assists in this game off the bench, along with 14 points. Had a good game off the bench. He could be a starter for all you know. But he played a good game. Scott Brooks coached a good game. It was just a couple possessions away from really changing the makeup of this game. But the Raptors, they were able to take it away. That Gortat substitution move also resulted in JV getting on the bench. Now, it worked in 2 ways for the Washington Wizards. 1, you got Gortat off the court, who wasn't playing well. 2, you got JV off the floor, since JV had no one to match up with, and he cannot guard Mike Scott, who's all the way at the 3-point line. He's too slow for that. So it was 2 birds and 1 stone for Scott Brooks, as he got JV out of the game, who was dominant, and he got Marcin Gortat, who was giving him nothing. So he just went small, and small was working for a while. And it might be something the Raptors will see in the near future. That leads me to go to what's next for Game 3. Now, Game 3 is going to be adjustments, and Scott Brooks spoke in the post-game that he is thinking about maybe throwing in Mike Scott into the starting lineup. Now, look, Mike Scott played well in limited time, though. I was wondering if he is really a starter, but if they go Mike Scott at the 5, man, JV is going to have some trouble. He's either had to guard Morris or Mike Scott, and both guys are perimeter bigs. So it'll be a tough matchup to see if JV stays in the lineup and if Casey tries to match up what Scotty Brooks is trying to do. But also Ty Lawson might start over Otto Porter Jr. at this point, because Otto Porter Jr. did not have a great game either. But he did have 12 points and didn't really get that many shots. But Ty Lawson was active, so he might just go with high energy and quickness over Otto Porter Jr. So anything could happen. Adjustments are there. Raptors side of the adjustments, hopefully VanVleet is healthy. He'll get back in the lineup, and the whole bench mob will be perfectly fine. Because right now, Lowry plays with the bench mob since they need another creator on the floor, and these bigs gotta produce. Siakam and Jakob Poeltl, Gotta give you something. Either some offensive rebounds or some great defense. They're not giving you anything consistently. And if you're not going to play well, you might as well just go small. Maybe Lorenzo Brown or Norman Powell playing the 4 spot or something. Because these guys aren't giving you anything. You don't want to give the Wizards a chance to come back in the game like they did today. That's something to look for Dwane Casey. And see if Siakam and Jakob can maybe create something, because they're not giving anything. Well, that's a wrap on today's Raptors Wrap-Up podcast. I'm Advin Lingam signing off. Peace.